For over 40 years, the Sundance Film Festival has been held on the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Shoshone, Paiute, Gojute, and Ute tribal nations. We do land acknowledgements to recognize the traditional stewards of this land and our 500 years of resistance to ongoing colonialism. But can we acknowledge the land without listening to the land? Take a moment to really listen. From the Ute to the Wet'suwet'en, from the Anishinaabe to the Kingdom of Hawaii, indigenous nations all over the world understand that the land does not belong to us. We belong to the land, and we continue to fight for her. Let this land acknowledgement move you beyond symbolic recognition. Let it be your call to action. Support indigenous resistance. Join us in the fight to protect our mother, for our human and non-human kin, for the next 7 generations.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joanna Vicente, CEO of the Sundance Institute. I'm a Portuguese woman with brown hair and brown eyes. I'm 5'2", and I'm wearing navy jacket with a gray sweater. And I have a background of Main Street with the Egyptian theater behind me. I am speaking to you from New York on Montauk land. And I also want to acknowledge the ancestral keepers of the lands where our New York City offices sit, the Lenape Nation, our LA office, the Tonva and Chumash tribal nations, Utah offices, the Ute tribal nation, and I thank them for allowing us to be here. It's great to be here at the 2022 Sundance Film Festival Producer Celebration. I love this event. I feel that I grew up as a producer with the support of Sundance, the festival, and the Institute. I still remember my first festival. It was in the mid-90s when my husband and partner, Jason Cleo, and I were invited to show our short film in the dramatic competition. As newbies, we were intimidated by a place we didn't know and a world we weren't yet a part of. By the end of the festival, Sundance had welcomed us into the fold, showed us that we could be part of this community and that it would support us as we move forward to make the films that we wanted so badly to make. Sundance impact has been so profound and long-lasting on my life and career. As a producer, I've had over 20 films shown at the festival, had the privilege of being on the jury, attended premieres of films that have profoundly affected me, and met some of my closest friends and collaborators. And this event has always been my favorite part of the festival. It was always a chance to see my peers, get to know producers whose work I admired, and I met people at this event who then later on became my collaborators. So being here today, I have that same sense of being among friends. Great to see so many familiar faces. The people in this virtual room know just how much work it takes to bring a film to life, from the very first spark of an idea or the excitement we feel when we read a great script, to the incredible moment when you finally get to share the finished product with an audience. The job of a producer has never been easy, and for the last 2 years, it has even been tougher. But what you do has never been more important. As Tabitha Jackson, our festival director, has noted, the Sundance Film Festival experience is about connectedness. Connectedness despite what's happening around us and because what's happening around us. The power and vibrancy of this community and the stories you are telling are what defines the festival. And while I know we all wish we could all gather in person, I am grateful to be here together right now in this place, in this moment. We've come together to honor your endurance and dedication to making new work amidst so much change. Your collective will as filmmakers and artists to make work that shines a light on our world as it evolves in real time is truly extraordinary. It is a reminder for all of us that there is much to celebrate. Thank you to our partners, staff, and sponsors who embrace the online format and are working diligently to deliver on the promise of this idea. I would especially like to thank Amazon Studios for their steadfast commitment to visionary, independent voices in film and episodic storytelling. We are enormously grateful as we mark their 7th year of generous support for the Producers Program. That includes, of course, this annual celebration and the 2022 Amazon Studios Producers Awards, which we will be announcing shortly, honoring 2 producers working in fiction and nonfiction with new films at this year's festival. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Kristen Philly, Deputy Director of the Documentary Film Program, and Shira Rockowitz, Director, Producing and Artist Support in the Feature Film Program.
Thank you, Joanna, and welcome everyone. I'm Kristen Feely, the Deputy Director of the Documentary Film Program. I'm a Caucasian woman with curly-ish brownish hair, wearing a black jacket and sitting in my office, though my background view is of Main Street. Today, my heart is in the ancestral lands of the Goshute, Paiute, and Ute peoples, which is also home to the Sundance Film Festival.
Hello, I'm Shira Rockowitz, Director of Producing and Artist Support in the Feature Film Program. I'm a Caucasian woman with light brown shoulder-length hair and blue eyes, and I too am sitting in front of a Zoom background of the Egyptian Theater on Main Street in Park City. And I'm calling in from the unceded land of the Tongva, Chumash, and Kizh people, also known as Los Angeles, and in particular in our LA office.
Congratulations to you, the Sundance Film Festival Producers Class of 2022. We're humbled by the depth and authenticity of your incredible work, and we're honored to gather together to recognize and celebrate you. Today's event doesn't look the way that we thought it would. When plans shifted, we grieved what would have been, and then we got to work. We want to recognize our colleagues who worked double time alongside you to get ready for this week, which is imbued with the Sundance spirit, to be curious and courageous, and to create against all odds. Artist Lynette Walworth, who is sharing a new work in the festival this year at an event tomorrow, shared these words with the Sundance staff in the early days of the pandemic. We have never been a part of the huge turning wheel. We have cogs in place to spin a wheel of beauty and keep it turning. The labors of love and sweat, of endurance and joy, were impossible aspirations set in motion by dreams, held up by our community. We know how to do this. Sharing what we have, seeing where need is, adjusting our eyes to what is in front of us, making it and making do, imagining what is possible. Well, we made it. We're here together. Take a moment to look around and say hello to your fellow travelers.
Among you, you might notice we have some newcomers, and we are thrilled to welcome the 2021-2022 Fiction and Nonfiction Sundance Producing Cohort, whose year-long fellowship has included a 5-day lab and the Producers Summit this past July, as well as ongoing industry mentorship, educational workshops, networking, and granting. The Feature Film Producers Fellowship participants include Austin Sepulveda, Deidre Bax, who's the Mark Silverman honoree, Duran Jones, Katie White, and Xiaomin Chuchia. And shout out to Duran, who has a short film, Hallelujah, at the festival this year, which you must catch.
The Documentary Film Producers Fellowship participants include Anne Bennett, Darcy McKinnon, Jua Estrella Horowitz, Keith Wilson, and Razi Jaffrey. And a special shout out to Keith Wilson, whose featured documentary, I Didn't See You There, is premiering in US documentary competition tomorrow. The 2020, excuse me. Additionally, we'd like to recognize the alumni of our inaugural Producers Intensive, which took place in October and supports emerging producers from historically underrepresented communities. The 2021 Documentary Producers Intensive participants included Alba Jaramillo, Chris Renteria, Rachel Dixon, Rajeswari Ramanathan, and Shannon Sun Higginson.
The 2021 Feature Film Producers Intensive participants included Ashley Chrisman, Beverly Gordon, Lauren Lopez de Victoria, Brianne Thomas, and Jesse Odio, who has 2 projects at this year's festival, Every Day and Kaimuki in the next section, and the short film You've Never Been Completely Honest. We have a wonderful program ahead, including the presentation of the 2022 Amazon Studios Producers Awards and a keynote from our beloved producer, Chien. We'd also hope that you'll join us for more intimate breakout sessions at the end of our formal program so you can meet your fellow producers. Finally, just want to acknowledge our Producers Program colleagues who have a shared deep commitment to supporting artists and our partners in all things producing. Feature Film Program Manager of Producing and Artist Support, Lauren Luco, and Documentary Film Program Manager of Producing and Artist Support, Maria Clement. Many thanks also to our operations team, our event lead, Joe Urenkar, and our tech lead, Helena Pinchuk. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the founding Senior Director of Artist Programs at Sundance Institute, Michelle Satter.
Thank you, Shira and Kristen. I'm so excited to be here. And this too is my favorite event of the festival. I am wearing a green-blue sweater, have a light complexion, I'm female, black frame glasses. I'm sitting against a green wall with a painting of the California coastline. And I'm in Los Angeles in my living room, where I've been for a long time, almost 2 years now, but I'm speaking from the ancestral lands of the Tungva and Chumash tribes. We are so grateful that despite that the moment we're in, we can still come together as a global community of storytellers to celebrate a fierce group of producers and honor your remarkable festival films. I just want to say, I love to raise a glass. I have water, but congratulations to all of you. It is such an achievement to be here with your films. For 40 years, the Sundance Institute Labs, founded by Robert Redford, have brought together accomplished artists and promising new storytellers to create new work and engage audiences. While we hope to resume in-person labs this summer, we are counting on it. For the past 2 years, we've hosted nearly all of our programs online. We wouldn't miss a year, and we've served hundreds of artists, forging new connections and advancing new work. We have even launched several new initiatives to expand support for artists across disciplines that offers access to creative and professional development, resources, and granting. And this includes an expansion of the year-round producers program led by Kristen and Shira, which, as they mentioned, introduced a new producers intensive this past fall to support emerging producers from traditionally underrepresented communities. This was a big lift, but we had it in the plans and we moved forward with it. Sundance Catalyst, led by Caroline Von Kuhn, has continued to connect culturally engaged film investors and funders with producers. It's an amazing program that we do and that Caroline leads. And we've expanded educational and professional development programming for producers on Sundance Collab, our community platform for creators around the globe. If you haven't seen it, find it. There's so much to take in, so much learning, so much connecting in community. All of this work wouldn't be possible without the generous support of our sponsors, the Sandra and Malcolm Berman Charitable Foundation, CineReach, SAG Indie, and of course, Amazon Studios. Thank you so much. And finally, I want to take a moment to recognize the 22 fiction and nonfiction alumni of our producers program who are films premiering at this year's festival. All I can say is we are very proud indeed of all of you. Congratulations. Okay, I'm excited to move us on and introduce a great colleague, Carrie Lozano. She's Director of Documentary Film and Artist Programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and welcome to you all. I'm so happy we're doing this in Zoom and not webinar fashion, so we can see each other and really be together in this moment. As Michelle said, I'm Carrie Lozano, Director of Documentary Film and Artist Programs. I'm a Latina woman with olive-ish skin, brown hair pulled back, glasses, and a Sundance Film Festival poster in the background. And I'm joining you from Ohlone Land in Northern California. I'm really happy to be here in this virtual room with all of you today. I come to this work as a producer myself and have so much respect and admiration for our community and our craft. As we celebrate all of you, I'd like to acknowledge the incredible producers of this festival, my colleague Gina Duncan and her entire team, as well as the programmers who are bringing us this year's incredible work. Producers are the most resourceful, multi-skilled people I know. I actually often like to list off everything that defines a producer, but we would be here for the next half hour, so I won't do that right now. But I really want to recognize that you're all driven by a spirit of care and collaboration that in these times cannot be overstated or overappreciated. During the last 2 years, you have navigated so much change, held space for your collaborators, and you've been determined to see through your visions and enrich the cultural lives of audiences around the world. We hope you take this time to appreciate each other's work. The beauty, depth, and creativity manifested in all of your films is a tremendous source of inspiration. So today, we honor you, we honor our community of independent producers, and celebrate all of you who have films premiering at the festival. But we are here to recognize 2 creative producers with films in the festival and to honor their body of work with the Sundance Institute Amazon Studios Producers Award, which includes a $10,000 cash grant and Sundance year-round support. So without further ado, this year's winners are Sue Kim, producer of Free Chol Soo Lee in US documentary competition, and Amanda Marshall in God's Country in premieres, producer of God's Country, excuse me, in premieres. Congratulations, Sue and Amanda. I hope you can all give a hats off emoji and as we continue to celebrate them. And thank you to our partners at Amazon Studios for making this award and significant recognition possible. I would now like to introduce the sponsors of the Producers Celebration, our supporters at Amazon Studios, co-heads of movies, Julie Rappaport and Matt Newman.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me okay. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Matt Newman. I'm a Caucasian male wearing a black sweatshirt with a Sundance virtual background, I hope. Yes, it looks right. It's there. Good. So yeah, Sundance virtual background. Thank you, Sundance, for these awesome backgrounds. It's nice to have.
I'm Julie Rappaport. I am a Caucasian female. I have dark hair. I'm wearing a white sweater, and I am also using one of these amazing virtual backgrounds. I'm here on Main Street in front of the Egyptian, and we are the co-heads of movies at Amazon Studios.
I'd like to thank Joanna, Michelle, and the Sundance Institute for hosting and organizing this annual event. Although we are once again virtual, we appreciate this wonderful opportunity to celebrate and showcase emerging producers. We're incredibly proud to sponsor and recognize the Sundance Producers Awards recipients for documentary and narrative features. We've been sponsoring the Producers Award for a little over 5 years, and we are so proud to not only recognize the talented filmmakers, but also to reflect on the legacy that Sundance has cultivated within the independent community. This has been an extremely difficult time for many, not only for the universal challenges the pandemic has presented, but also for its impact on the overall industry and filmmaking community. And yet the work of this year's Sundance filmmakers and that of the 2 producers we're honoring today is more important now than ever before. We commend not only our Producers Awards recipients, but every Sundance artist and filmmaker today.
We're so thrilled to be here again in support of the Sundance Producers Awards. While we were also heartbroken not to be there in person, we commend the festival for the responsible decision and the hard work to get here, and have loved connecting virtually throughout the weekend. It's been so awe-inspiring for us to continue to witness the great resilience and innovation that has happened over the last year and during these hard times. Even in times of hardship, it's proven that this producing community can truly outlast anything. You persevered, and for that, we're all able to be here today, still celebrating the incredible work of these filmmakers. As you may know, we have 3 films premiering at the festival this week that we're incredibly proud of. The filmmakers behind both Master and Emergency, 2 of our films which premiered in dramatic competition, got their start with Sundance. Emergency, a Carrie Williams short film, won the 2018 Special Jury Prize, and Hairwolf, Mariama Diallo short film, won the Short Film Jury Award, U.S. Fiction Award in 2018. As you can see at Amazon, we pride ourselves in creating not only a platform, but a lasting pipeline to amplify diverse voices that demand to be heard. Without Sundance and our strong producing partners on these incredible projects, we would not be here. We're proud to support the Institute and programs like this. It's part of the fabric of our program and programs like this that continue to help amplify these stories and voices for audiences around the world. We can't wait to see the exciting things that come from the 2 awards recipients, Sue Kim and Amanda Marshall. Thank you again, Sundance, and we're looking forward to returning to Park City next year to be with everyone in person. The 3rd time will be a charm. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt and Julie. Thank you for all your support. It's now my honor to present Sue Kim with the 2022 Sundance Amazon Studios Producers Award for Nonfiction. I'm here standing in for anyone who has known or worked with Sue over her 16-year career producing nonfiction. When you work with Sue, you feel like you have a secret you need to tell anyone who will listen. Sue is a diamond in the wilderness of documentary producing. The Greek origin of the word diamond means invincible. Like a diamond, Sue is known for her strength, her clarity of vision, and her precise, discerning nature. She knows the business, but she loves art. Her directors describe her as the protector of their vision and their friend. As one director put it, Sue has a 6th sense on how to make something work, a practical streak that ensures she'll make it work within your budget, and the heart to do the impossible if the impossible is what needs to be done. When Sue is your back, you're free to create. What more could you ask? Sue's strength shouldn't be confused with hardness. Sue's compassion and awareness of those who came before her and after extends to everything she does. Before she was mentoring less experienced filmmakers and seeking out first-time directors with wildly creative visions, she was, as another one of her directors put it, always helping interns get jobs, assistants to become editors, and always giving support to her director. That support has manifested in some of the most unique and groundbreaking nonfiction over the last 16 years. From N.C. Hyken's Kim Janilia, to Rodrigo Reyes's Lupe Under the Sun, to Bramel Ross's Hale County This Morning, This Evening, and Emily Madavian's Bitter Brush. And finally, here this year with Free Chol Soo Lee. She's also a rare producer in nonfiction whose body of work is focused on growing the visions of the directors she works with over time. When she won this award, her directors sent her flowers with a card that read, "An artist's job is never to look away. Sue never looks away." Those who have worked with her and those who have been touched by her work are better because of her. Please join me in welcoming Sue Kim.
Thank you, Kristen. You made me cry. Thank you for this humbling recognition. I would like to thank the Sundance Institute, Matt Newman and Julie Rappaport from Amazon Studios, my fellow filmmakers, Julie Ha, Eugene Yi, Jean Chien, and Sona Zhou, and everyone who participated in Free Chol Soo Lee and trusted the team to tell this story that could have easily remained buried and lost to history. Because his life still has such resonance today, we could not let that happen. When I started in this business, I often felt invisible, warped by a female and racial lens, just like so many of us here have felt in one way or another. I worked hard, and I was lucky to learn from some amazing filmmakers along the way, such as Anne Makepeace, Mary Lamson, Julie Goldman, Ramel Ross, and Jocelyn Barnes, to name a few. I am often asked what I want in a project as a producer. Is it making big sales or becoming a festival hit? But honestly, what I really want is to fall in love with an artist and their point of view. That's what's essential above anything else. That's why I work with Rodrigo Reyes, Emily Magdavian, John Sutter, and Carol Deisinger, because I fell in love with their visions. When I look out at our documentary landscape, I wonder if we're losing sight of something. Filmmaking is an art form, and nonfiction has the potential to be as transcendent as anything else in the history of cinema. I feel that we have come into a space and a system that pressures filmmakers to be commercially successful in various ways. Sundance started showcasing independent creators who dare to buck the system. So many filmmakers who did their part to fight for their own voice in their own time. People say this is the golden age of documentaries. Yet so many of us know that our industry is in crisis, with the shrinking space for more difficult content. I know so many filmmakers with great work who have not found homes for their stories that clearly have a vision and an audience. I encourage us as producers to support and champion those voices that are interesting but difficult in the marketplace. This is where we will find our inspiration. We must be brave and bold in this art form. Diversity in point of view and in craft is important. We need to build and provide sustainable careers for us and for the voices that challenge and excite us. I hope moving forward, we can come together to build an industry that makes this all possible. I want to thank you for this incredible recognition. I am deeply honored to be here today. I look forward to continuing this fight, this good fight for you all, with all of you. Thank you. And I got so excited that I forgot my description, so I will do it now. I'm an Asian woman with shoulder-length black hair, a white scarf, and eyeglasses, and I am currently in Lenape land. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sue. Beautiful words. Moving forward, I am going to start with a quote. "It's difficult for me to imagine a more passionate, consistent, selfless advocate for what is best for the movie than Amanda Marshall. That's what writer-director Julian Higgins told me when I asked about his collaboration with Amanda on their feature film, God's Country, which incidentally premieres at Sundance tonight. Amanda is a director's producer. She's in the trenches with her filmmakers from development through distribution. As president of Cold Iron Pictures, she is largely focused on emerging artists that have bold vision and ambitious appetite. Her impressive and diverse body of work includes Mike Birbiglia's Don't Think Twice, the Daniels Swiss Army Man, for which she was nominated for a Spirit Award for Best First Feature, Ben Berman's amazing Jonathan documentary, and Marielle Heller's Independent Spirit Award winning The Diary of a Teenage Girl. Most recently, Amanda produced the Film Independent Lab project, The Time Capsule, and of course, Julian Higgins' God's Country. Did I mention it was premiering tonight? Amanda is also a producer's producer. Having gotten to know her over the past many years, I'm continually moved by her commitment to the independent producer community. She's made it a lifestyle. Amanda is a generous advisor to those who are just starting out in the industry and has served as a mentor for Sundance Institute and Film Independent Labs many times over. She's a vocal activist as an at-large member of the executive committee for the Producers Union, working for a more equitable and sustainable pathway for producers. Clearly, she is keeping busy. So it's my pleasure to honor Amanda's commitment to her craft and to our community, and I'm thrilled to present her with the 2022 Sundance Institute Amazon Studios Producers Award for Fiction Filmmaking. Please welcome Amanda.
Thank you, Shira. I am a Caucasian woman with long magenta hair with bangs, and I am sitting in front of a Sundance virtual background with a green shirt on. I am in my office in LA though. Okay. I'd like to thank the Sundance Institute and Amazon Studios. In particular, thank you to Michelle Satter, Shira Rockowitz, and Kristen Feely from Sundance, and Matt Newman and Julie Rappaport from Amazon. I'm honored to be recognized with this award. Thank you as well to my producing partners on God's Country, my longtime in the trenches partner, Miranda Bailey, Jason Beck, who kept me sane whenever I was on the edge these past few years, and Haley Bernard and Julian Higgins, both of whom I hope this is the first of many collaborations. I also want to acknowledge my fellow producers who defied the odds to finish their films and get to this point. I wish we could all be gathered together in Park City, celebrating these amazing accomplishments in person. The last time I was at Sundance was with a film called The Untitled Amazing Jonathan documentary. The director of that film, Ben Berman, had a mantra he would always say: obstacle is the way. It's seared in my brain from the number of times I heard him say it. Every time the project took a crazy turn, and there are quite a few, the mantra, obstacle is the way, would be invoked as the path forward. What became a running joke amongst the team has become a personal mantra the last couple of years. Seems fitting for the world we currently live in, and like a pretty good tagline for independent film in general. Obstacles are inherent to everything we do. 2 years ago, I was literally dodging buffalo on my way to the God's Country set in Montana, while trying to solve the problem of how to get snow to a mountaintop after it had all blown away the night before. That now feels like a quaint problem to have. Like many of us, I was in the middle of production when the world shut down. It took almost a year to the day to start up again, 367 days to be exact. We lost cast to new commitments. We had to reshoot scenes in locations that had been remodeled since we'd last been there, and had to retrofit a script already half shot to make it COVID friendly. How were we going to get through all of that? The mantra came in handy. Obstacle is the way. We embraced new challenges and used them to our advantage. No one wants to take a year-long break in production with 2 weeks left to go. But during that time, we were able to edit and review the footage we had already shot, which allowed us to make tweaks to the script and our production plan and build the confidence that we needed that despite the pandemic, we'd be able to finish the creative vision we had set out to accomplish. It also allowed us to meet new collaborators, such as our wonderfully talented composer, DeAndre James Allen Toole, who we met in the Sundance Film Music and Sound Design Lab. And I think in the end, despite the physical distance at the CDC recommended 6 feet apart, the whole team came together even tighter than we'd been before. Of course, that does not mean there were not plenty of moments I wanted to crawl into a ball and hyperventilate. It's hard to discuss producing during a pandemic without acknowledging what it felt like to just be a human being this past year. Balancing life, parenting 2 kids under the age of 10, and producing, it's already difficult. Lately, it's felt almost impossible because sometimes the biggest obstacle in the way is self-doubt. And over the last year, I found myself on set more than once, trying to reassure someone that everything was going to be okay, all the while wondering myself if that was true. And yet somehow we're all working through it. Maybe some of us choose blind optimism, but that's never really been my way. I'm a realist, sometimes to a fault. What helped me get through this past few years was this community. I'm particularly proud to be a part of the conversation being had around the Producers Union, highlighting what we do as producers and the value we bring to the table. It's been a reminder to make sure that one of the voices I fight for is my own. When you're busy trying to protect the vision and voices of others, that can sometimes get lost in the shuffle. So once again, thank you to Amazon Studios and the Sundance Institute for this generous award and for the support you give to producers all year long. And lastly, I just want to thank my husband, Erwan, and my kids, Emily and Harrison, for their love and support in everything I do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amanda. I'm so moved by you, your beautiful words, and also the films that you've made, unforgettable films. Congratulations on your award. It is now my great honor to introduce the 2022 Sundance Film Festival Producers Celebration Keynote. That's a long sentence. And she is Chien. This is such a privilege for me. Chien is a producer, distributor, educator, and activist who, in her own words, is committed to bold voices, innovative forms, and radical practices of ethical filmmaking. This should define all of us as producers. Chien has produced 10 feature films starring women and people of color that have premiered at film festivals around the world, won over 100 festival awards, and they have been distributed in over 20 countries. Her films include Circumstance at Sundance 2011, winning the Audience Award, Stones in the Sun, Tribeca 2012, winning the Best Director Special Award, Jack and Diane at the 2012 Tribeca Film Festival, The Exploding Girl at the Berlinale 2009, and The Motel at 2005 at Sundance. She has also produced the interactive graphic novel app Vision Machine by Greg Pak and the dual channel installation Untitled Structures by Leslie Hewitt and Bradford Young. Chien is a producer with Louverture Films and has also led the global production services company Art and Action Productions for the past 15 years. On the distribution front, she co-founded and is president of Degenerate Films, the leading distributor of independent Chinese cinema. Comfortable wearing many different hats, Chien is an extraordinary leader, advocate, and activist who leads with grace, curiosity, and always integrity. She's a founding core member of Distribution Advocates, a new coalition working to reclaim power for independent storytellers in distribution and exhibition by fighting for radical transparency, rebalancing entrenched inequities, and blazing a new, more interesting, accessible, and inclusive way forward. There's more. Additionally, Chien serves as the director of the Nevada City Film Festival Filmmaker Residency, the Seoul Artist Residency for Creative Producers, and she co-founded and directed the CAM, which is the Center for Asian American Media Fellowship, for its first 5 years. She's taught producing classes for several universities and has mentored artists at film organizations, including Global Media Makers Program at Film Independent, the Producing Lab at Film Independent, and our very own Sundance Producers Lab, Summit, and Sundance Collab. We can't wait to hear from you and hear what you're going to say today. Thank you so much for everything you do, Chien, and it's a great pleasure and privilege to introduce you at our Producers Celebration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so grateful for all the ways that my career, which now I feel quite old listening to that bio, but I'm so grateful for all the ways that my career has intersected with Sundance over the years. I am a woman of Chinese descent. I'm wearing a black dress and I'm sitting in front of a white wall with an LA library poster in the background. I am deeply honored to be asked to give the Sundance Producers Keynote address. And I know that many of you listening right now could easily be in this speaking position. So first of all, thank you for being here and listening. When I first started producing, it took me years to introduce myself as a producer without fumbling. I really wasn't sure back then that I deserved that title. 20-something years into this game, I know in my bones and in my heart and in my gut what it is to be a producer. Producing is an identity. It is a tribe, it is an active community, and it is an artistic practice that encompasses more than can be communicated. Producing is the highest compliment. A producer is someone who makes the impossible possible. A producer solves problems and creates problems, good problems. A producer questions why things are the way they are. We are independent producers because we subvert and we complicate the status quo with the intention of forwarding new thoughts, ideas, voices, and stories. Our culture, our communities, and our industry depend on us to do this. Expanding that concept of who and what a producer is has allowed me to embrace an insider-outsiderness that is in my DNA. I come from a family of exiles and immigrants who could not be farther from the film business. Yet I was literally born in Hollywood, a real and imagined place whose name itself commits intentional erasure. And at Sundance, producers know what it feels like to be in the festival and yet still out in the cold. So whether we are outside or inside changes all the time, from one phone call to the next. There is power in standing in either position. There is a superpower in inhabiting both perspectives. I know this as well from my work as a distributor, where I inhabit a far away corner of the distribution galaxy. My work distributing independent Chinese cinema for the past 13 years was a natural outgrowth of producing and self-distributing Asian American cinema in the 2000s. The latest manifestation of this producer-distributor work is a coalition in formation for distribution advocacy. So that far outside perspective, that's rare and that's valuable. It's where I can agitate for change and ideate different ways of doing things. The danger lies in assigning a lower value to being outside, but it's forgivable if you do. But I'm here to tell you from experience that if you devalue yourself, others will gladly take what you're giving for free. And if you and we devalue the outsider point of view, then change will never come. We're at a point when more money is available to make movies and TV than ever. Yet we producers find ourselves organizing for the right simply to be paid. We fight to receive a non-zero number. There's nothing more important we can do for our tribe than to hold on to our value and for each other. And let me say, solidarity is not an exclusive event. So to the writers and directors who are listening, please ask your producers what we are being paid. And if there isn't parity, do something, make noise, create good trouble, do the things that every storyteller at Sundance is celebrated for: question, subvert, interrogate. This is especially necessary if you stand in greater privilege. I'm in a fight right now for parity, and I'll tell you something that I've learned. The systemic devaluation that I internalized working as an independent producer helped sustain an environment of outrageously unequal compensation when I went to work at a tech company. In Silicon Valley, equity is not a metaphor. Take a moment to Google equity gap Silicon Valley. The data is just starting to surface. So it's during this time that with my colleagues, Jesse Locks and Jeff Clark in Nevada City, that I started a conversation around what it would look like to value producers. With their support, I created the first artist residency for producers, and we designed a creative retreat where nothing was asked of producers other than to show up. Providing space and support for producers to rest was unheard of. Rest for producers is a radical act. Here's a quote I love by the late great activist Grace Lee Boggs: "Conversation is revolution." She explains that the most important revolution is the one that happens inside us. I interpret conversation not as debate, but as listening. There is a power to listening. Listening leads to conversations with the capacity to create. The conversations I like the most are the ones that ask the hardest questions. That might be a producing quality. So in the spirit of this producer celebration, let me ask you and us this question. What does it look like to value producers? When you think about financing, what would financing look like to value producers? Would it look like an equity model that is producer driven? Imagine equity being invested into producers instead of projects. For any venture capital funders listening, I'm happily giving this idea away for free. There is an incredible opportunity here to invest in brilliant, talented, experienced, diverse producers who will turn your investment into a wealth of projects with a multitude of writers and directors. When it comes to discovery of new voices, what would it look like to value producers? Would it entail a mechanism to ensure that producers who bled over a director's first movie would benefit from the next one? Would valuing producers look like investing development dollars into diverse producers? As a young producer, I rarely had the privilege of being in development. Development takes a lot of time, and only producers with funding or financial means can afford it. So think about the producers who don't have access to development funding and how that impacts what IP is being developed. A diversity of IP, which means a true multiplicity of stories and voices, requires valuing producers in the discovery of new voices. When it comes to distribution, what would it look like to value producers? This might be the hardest question. Producers hold a community's distribution knowledge. A community that doesn't value producers is one that will lack knowledge of increasingly opaque systems of distribution and exhibition. That creates a severe disadvantage in getting independent work to audiences, to impact, and to revenue. And in this epic of vertical integration and nonstop consolidation, that disadvantage is not a gap. It is a Grand Canyon-sized chasm. Creating more equity and distribution starts with cultivating and valuing diverse producers. So what would it look like for agents and buyers and executives, and most importantly, for producers themselves to deeply value producers? I don't have all the answers, but I'm here for the conversation and I'm here to listen. Thank you to this tribe of producers for listening. And in closing, I want to thank Michelle, Shira, Kristen, and everyone at the Sundance Institute for giving me this time and platform. I thank my teachers and those who fought hard to create the path that I walk. I thank producers who opened early doors and showed me how to do the same. I thank my colleagues at Degenerate Films and Icarus Films. I thank my allies at Distribution Advocates. I thank my newest producing partners, Jocelyn Barnes and Danny Glover, as well as Sue, Tony, Sasson, and Jeff at Louverture Films for a new producing home where we can explore these very questions. And I thank my partner, Lawrence, with whom I have the privilege of being in conversation every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Just gonna sit with that for a minute. I hope that you take a peek at the chat and see all of the responses. I think a lot resonates with folks. At this point, I want to thank everyone for joining us and congratulate Sue and Amanda again. This concludes the formal presentation portion of our program.